Hi, it's Steve here from Leading Dental. I'm going to go through a quick overview today of the Varios 970 scaler from NSK. This is a beautiful little system. Now, I've got it set up, but I'm going to turn it off there and do, I guess, the reverse of the initial setup. We've got a little power plug in the back here, which we would usually set up and plug in first thing. Just a computer style plug on that one. I've got a foot pedal here. Little notch at the top, we plug that in. I'll show you the foot pedal later. That's how we plug that one in there. A little quick connect here where we can put external water source, but today we're going to focus on the water bottles. So on the front here, we've just got the handpiece cord. Arrow to the top, it's a push. We never twist the cords, we never twist anything. It's always just a push fit, yeah? And then that just goes into here. So we've got our power cords in, we've got our foot pedal in, we go around here, we turn our power on. I'm going to see a little display light up there like a Christmas tree, which is awesome. So we've got then our settings on the side here for our water flow. So we've got our water flow control here, and as we adjust the water flow, we'll see it change on the screen there. We've also got an adjustment if we're using the mains water flow. We can also adjust the water flow from the side here, which is nice. On the top of the unit here, we've got perio mode, we've got endo mode, and we've got general mode. Now, up and down, we've got our 10 different control points within each of those modes, yeah? And that's going to correlate to your tip guide. I'm not going to go through that in this video, but we've got our number 5 in general mode, endo. So if we're using a lot of the general tips around the 7, we set that up at 7 in general mode, so let's assume we're using that. So power settings, irrigation. Do we want to use the right tank? Do we want to use the left tank? Or if we hold it down, we're going to go to external irrigation. We'd use a flexible tube on the back there, which we're not going to go through right now, but that's how we can do that. So let's assume we're using the left tank, and there's a flush system we'll go through later on. So the tanks, I've already filled these. You just pull that out, untwist, put some water in, or whatever solution you're going to use. We turn that just till it's firm. We don't need to over tighten, put it back in. When it comes, it does come standard with these little bungs, and you would use those bungs if you're not planning on using the tank. But in this case, we're going to use 2 tanks and show the demo with the tanks. So we've chosen left tank on here. We'll choose our water flow. What we first do, we pick up our handpiece. Now, we've got our foot pedal down here. So when I want to, I'm going to be hitting the go pedal in a minute. Or let's just do it now for the example. I'm waiting for that water to come through, so let's just adjust our flow rate up a little bit. Let's get, and there it is. There's our water coming through, yeah? So I know that the power setting on this tip is going to be 7, and I'm going to be in the general mode. So then all we need to do is set our mist control until we get a nice atomizing mist. Now, bearing in mind, with scalers, most of the work is done by the atomization of that water and a perfectly in tune tip. That's why we use our tip guides to make sure that our tips are always at the right length, in tune, because that allows all the feedback systems to work. Again, we're not going to go through that now because that's just that's for another in-depth video that we'll go through later on. We're just going to go to the main functions. So tip on and off, we just use our wrench here, so we can unscrew, screw on with our wrench. We wait for a click, get up, click, and we're off. So autoclavable wrench and tip. So comes standard with our 3 tips there and a holder. That holder is also autoclavable. So that, in a nutshell, that's our functions there. Left tank, right tank, power up and down, water flow control here. We've got our tanks. Our other thing we need to be very aware of is at the end of our procedure, what we need to do is get a vessel of any sort, and we hold down this button here. This is our auto flush button. We wait till it beeps. That's going to give us a flush. Now you'll watch, that's going to give us a full flush on the left tank, and it's going to flip over to the right tank. Now obviously we don't, if we're using some sort of a solution that's not water, we don't want to flush with that solution. We want to put some, ideally some distilled water into that, and we're going to give it a flush through with that. And that's going to flush any impurities out of there. It's going to flush water all the way up through the line, and it's going to flush out our system there. So we see that's counted down now. Now we've gone across to the other tank there, so we're flushing that down. Again, we want to make sure that we've got some sort of a solution in that other tank there. That's going to do our flush, and then we can disassemble everything and have it all ready for autoclaving. Okay, so let's go through some of the power settings and also the tip card. So we've put our tip on, click, tip is on, and then we know that it's tight, yeah? So now this tip here is a G8 tip. Now because I know it's a G8 tip, I can look at this nice cheat sheet here. And if I have a look at a G8 tip, it's got recommended power setting in the scaling mode at 7. So what I do is I make sure that 7 is set up on my screen here by just going up and down until I see 7 on there. Now that should be a set and forget, because these systems have got an amazing feedback system. 30,000 times a second we're giving feedback to the tip. Now this tip, if we looked at it on a microscopic level, we're seeing it move basically forwards and backwards like this, and it's using a system called piezo technology. Now that piezo technology can be controlled and it can be monitored. Now, if that tip hits a resistance, let's say calculus, and we're trying to scale, what it will do is 30,000 times a second, it's monitoring that resistance and constantly adjusting that power up and down so that we maintain a constant movement up and down, and basically that movement is controlled and alters for the different design tips. So it's sort of a set and forget pattern that we're sort of moving into there. You should really, if you're using the tip properly to its the way it's designed, you shouldn't need to worry about adjusting the power. It's continually doing that for you. Now, think of this like a tuning fork. It's in perfect tune, perfect resonance, and it's also only in perfect resonance if you put a NSK tip on there. I always recommend using manufacturer supplied tips because then they're tuned to that device. So you'll see there, this tip card is in the green. If that's in the orange, that's a warning your tip's on the way out. If it's red, throw it in the bin. It's no longer a tip, it's a piece of metal. You might as well be hand scaling. So make sure that we're in the green or the orange there, orange being a warning. That means our tip's in perfect tune. That means all our feedback systems are going to work and it's going to have the best possible performance for you. So that one's very important. Also, when we hit our foot pedal, we want to see a nice mist. We don't want to see like a dripping, and we don't want to see a big stream of water. We want to see a mist. We've got atomization there of the water at the perfect power control. That atomization actually does a lot of the work. Obviously there's a whole range of tip guides from NSK. There's some of the more popular ones there with all the power settings. We've got our perio, our endo, and our scaling. So we need to make sure that we're using perio, endo, or scaling here, and then we just ramp our power up and down to the correct setting for that tip. So keep those few things in mind, and scaling is going to be a lot more functional and useful for you.